So I tore one of the rotator cuffs in my left shoulder back in 2020 whilst exercising aggressively, quite intensely, without adequate warm-up. I recognised the injury right away due to the causation. I was in a lot of pain for about 3 months or so, then it would subside, only to come back again following exercise. I was living in Spain at the time, and though I did have Spanish health insurance, I prioritised other things, and after a while I learned to manage the injury, so it didn't cause me pain on a day-to-day basis. It just kind of limited the type of training I could do. Essentially pull-ups or anything overhead was out of the question. Last year I decided enough was enough, and I wanted to begin training properly again without limitation. Since I was pretty much out of the UK NHS system and no longer had Spanish health insurance, I began looking for alternatives, and following an online search I found some options in Turkey and in Lithuania. One of those companies was Prospero Medical, and shortly after messaging them I began dialogue with their representative Tarun. He provided me with a quote a few days later. In the meantime, I decided to get a secondary quote within the UK private sector. Although the quote was a long time coming, it was remarkably similar to the quote Tarun provided, which left me with a decision to make. My main reservation with the Prospero option was the lack of testimonials they had on the site and that were available. So I was kind of, I had a decision to make, and I was kind of, weighing up the options. And in December, Taran messaged me. He told me he was going to be in London and asked me if I would like to meet him. He was very attentive, seemed totally above board, which instilled some confidence in me and in the process. Prior to making my final decision, I attended a consultation with a specialist in the UK who proceeded to offer me steroid injections and physio when I had made it abundantly clear that after living with an injury for 4 years, I wanted it fixed surgically, right? He then gave me a quote which was 2 times the price of what I'd been quoted by them previously, and 2 times the price of the Prospero quote. So a total waste of time. The following day, I conferred with Taran and booked my flights to Istanbul. On arrival, I was picked up in a nice Mercedes vehicle and taken to the hotel where Taran met me to go through the itinerary. The next day, I went to the clinic for my MRI scans, which were then analysed by 2 orthopaedic surgeons. In the end, Professor Dr. Karim Kambara elected to conduct the surgery arthroscopically. And though the total cost of the procedure turned out to be slightly more than originally quoted, I checked out his resume. It was like super impressive. And the arthroscopic surgery seemed like a much improved method than the open surgery which had been discussed. I was in hospital the following day, and the whole process felt like it was over in no time. My hospital room was similar to that of like a reasonable hotel room, and the care I received was second to none. Dr. Kanbora and his assistant came to visit me the following day, explained how successful the operation had been, and redressed the wounds. So I was able to actually see the wounds. I couldn't believe how minimal they were. Literally one tiny hole at the front of the shoulder and one at the back. I spent a further 4 days at a really nice hotel in Istanbul. I think it was a 5-star hotel, really comfortable, that Taran had booked on my behalf. Before flying back to the UK, I met with the surgeon a final time. He provided me with an aftercare program and gave me his contact details in case I had anything I wished to discuss with him at a later date. So all in all, the whole process, from the quality of the accommodation, the medical facilities, right through to the surgery and the aftercare, were impeccable, and I really feel like I made the right choice.